Hello, and welcome to another episode of Coffee Break Blogging. And let's go ahead and jump right into it. What we're going to be talking about in this installment is how to create a squeeze page and essentially what a squeeze page is. Now, for those of you who already know what this stuff is, I just want you to bear with me. Understand the Coffee Break Blogging podcast is essentially a course that goes from beginning to end in creating an online business. And there's people of all experience levels that are listening. And I know that not everybody is fully familiar with what a squeeze page is or the different elements that go on it. And there might be some questions related to squeeze pages. So we're going to go ahead and just talk about this topic in this episode so that we don't leave anybody out. Now, the first thing I want to do is actually define what a squeeze page is. A squeeze page is simple. All it is a single purpose page that has the entire job of getting somebody on your email list. And that's it. Now, you've seen squeeze pages before. They're those ones that basically say, here, download, get this. And the only thing that you can do there is opt in. You either opt in or you leave. That's pretty much it. So one important thing about squeeze pages is that there's no clutter on the screen. There's nothing there except for some type of a lead magnet and an opt-in form. And that is it. Okay? So let's go into a few things about the squeeze pages and also why you should be using a squeeze page. First of all, if you go back a few episodes here where we talked about lead magnets, you should know by now that I don't recommend that you only have one single lead magnet for your blog. I know a lot of bloggers are doing that. They basically have one opt-in offer, one thing that you're giving away, some big ebook, for example, and you put it in the sidebar and you think that you've done your job, like you've done your due diligence to get people onto your list. But if you go back and listen to episodes 70 and 71, I want you to really and truly understand what the real purposes of the lead magnet is. There's more to it than just giving something away. And for that reason, you need to have multiple lead magnets, not just one of them. And in fact, you're actually going to be harming the effectiveness of your overall marketing and content marketing and profitability if you're only got one lead magnet. So the thing is, if you have multiple lead magnets, it should be pretty obvious that you can't just stuff them all into your sidebar. So what are you going to do with them? How are you going to give them away? Your answer is going to be squeeze pages. You're going to have at least one squeeze page for every single lead magnet that you have. So that means if you have 5 different lead magnets to get people onto your list, then you're going to have 5 different squeeze pages. Now, probably only one of those lead magnets is going to be in the sidebar of your blog, but you're still going to have 5 of them with 5 different squeeze pages. Now, that squeeze page can be hosted on your main site. So some people have gotten confused on how these squeeze pages interact with the actual blog. So the thing is, even if you create your squeeze page using some other software other than WordPress, and we'll be talking about that a little bit later in a coming episode, you can still put it on your blog and have it on your own domain. So basically, it would be like a page on your site. So in my case, it could be blogmarketingacademy.com/lead magnet. That doesn't exist, I don't think, but that would be an example of a URL that would point to your squeeze page. Now, the question is, how do you get people to those squeeze pages? Do you list out all these squeeze pages in your top navigation? Do you list them all in your sidebar and then let people click? No, you don't do those things. And in fact, generally, most of your squeeze pages are not going to be in your navigation or on your sidebar. What you're probably going to do is link to them manually inside your content when it makes sense. So if you're writing a blog post about topic X, whatever that might be, then it would make sense to link to whatever lead magnet is most relevant to topic X. And you just simply link to the squeeze page, just like you would link to any other thing on the internet. You just link to your own squeeze page, and you can bring people over. And that's how you do it. Now, the other thing, too, is that you can run paid traffic right into your squeeze pages. Now, that is beyond the scope of this particular episode. We'll be talking about stuff with paid traffic a lot later in this overall progression of coffee break blogging. But there's multiple ways of getting people to these squeeze pages. And the big thing that you need to take away from this is that you need to have them and you need to link to them where it makes sense from inside your own content. Okay, now let's talk a little bit about the design elements of your squeeze page. The big thing about your squeeze page is that it has to be simple and it needs to not have any of the other clutter of your blog on it. So that means you don't want to have your top menu, you don't want to have a sidebar, you don't want to have any of your WordPress widgets, you don't want any of that stuff. Your squeeze page is going to look decidedly not like your blog. It's going to not look like your blog. And you might keep the logo of your blog at the top, but that is probably about it. And even then, you don't want the logo to be clickable because you don't want them to be able to click on that logo and leave the squeeze page. The entire idea of that squeeze page is that they can either opt into your list or they can leave. And by hitting their back button, don't give them an out. Okay, so you take the sidebar off, take the typical footer off, take all of your header stuff except for maybe the logo only. All that stuff's got to be gone. Okay, so what is going to go on there? Well, these are going to make sense to you if you go out and look at almost any squeeze page that you've ever been on before. The first and foremost thing on that squeeze page is going to be your headline. You're going to have a headline at the top of the squeeze page, and that headline is going to be all about what they're going to be getting. What is the lead magnet? What is the primary benefit of the lead magnet? What is that lead magnet going to do for them? And you'd put that into your headline. Now, getting into copywriting on how to write awesome headlines is beyond the scope of this episode, but we have talked about that in other sections. In fact, if you go back to episode 60, we talked about how to model high converting headlines. And there's various things on the blog itself at blogmarketingacademy.com that talk about headlines as well. But the headline is an important component of the squeeze page. The next important component, but I will say that this is optional, are bullet points. So here's the thing. You don't want to have a big bunch of text that somebody has to read on a squeeze page because generally they're not going to look at them. They're not going to read it, but they will generally scan over bullet points. So what would you put in the bullet points? Well, you want to highlight the benefits of the lead magnet. What is the lead magnet going to do for them? What are they going to be able to accomplish once they go through that lead magnet? And what you can actually do is take parts of that lead magnet and twist them in terms of wording into a point of curiosity. You want to make them wonder what's inside that lead magnet or wonder what the answer is. Now, here's a little trick that you can do to help you highlight benefits, is that you take some feature of the lead magnet and you add the words "so that" on the end of it. So take a feature and then "so that," and then you put something after that. So the whole idea of having "so that" there would be that it's going to lead you into creating the benefit. You're going to get how to do blah, 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 so that you can then do this and this and this. And that would be the idea of adding a "so that" to the end of a bullet point. And you want to make sure that each of your bullet points, you only need maybe 3 to 5 of these things. You don't need to have a big list of them, but you want to make sure that they are benefit driven. And if it helps, just add "so that" on the end of each one of them and then add the benefit. What are they going to get because of that thing? All right. Now, another important component of the squeeze page is going to be the lead magnet image. This is generally going to be an image of the actual lead magnet. Now, being that we're talking about digital products in most cases, then you're going to have to go and create one. Now, it could either be a banner-esque graphic of some kind, like just an image, or you could actually go and have a cover image created so you actually make the thing look like a little book. Whatever works for you, but you want to give them some graphical representation of the lead magnet and what they're going to get. Now, one little side note on this is that if you do decide to run some paid traffic, let's say drop a Facebook ad into your squeeze page, then you really need to have the image on Facebook and the image that they see when they get to your squeeze page look pretty much the same. You want it to have visual, continuation, I guess that would be the word, between the two. So that they don't click from Facebook and then come over to the squeeze page and like, well, what the heck is this? This isn't what I came here for. You want them to very visually see that that's exactly what they came for and that it makes perfect sense. Okay, but you want to have a lead magnet image there. It's generally going to convert a lot better. Now, here's another little trick that you can do is make it so that if they try to click on the image itself, that it either triggers the opt-in form or you give them a little JavaScript pop-up that says, oops, in order to get this, go down below and enter your email address and tell us where to send it. Okay? Because you are going to have people click on the image. So you want to make sure that your squeeze page reacts accordingly and that you don't waste those clicks. Okay? Now, the last component that should be pretty obvious on a squeeze page is going to be your call to action. So this is going to be the opt-in itself. Now, you can either have the email input and the button right there on the squeeze page, or you can do the two-step opt-in where there's just a button that says download now or get instant access or something like that. And then when they click that, the pop-up comes up with the opt-in form. So you can go two different routes on that. But those are the four primary components: headline, bullet points, the lead magnet image, and the call to action. There can be extra things. For example, if you want to put social proof on there, maybe some testimonials of people who have said awesome things about your lead magnet, whatever. But you generally don't want to add too many extra things to it. Okay? Now, we'll end off with one thing here, and that is that you will often find that the highest converting squeeze pages are often the simplest ones, like just straight up stupid simple, like the ones that you would just never think would work because they're just so insanely stupid. That's why when I talked about bullet points earlier, I said that they were actually optional, because sometimes I've seen some squeeze pages that convert crazy well, and all it is a headline and the opt-in, and that's it. Like maybe an image, but we're talking about the most simplest squeeze pages ever, and they can convert really well. So I don't want you to think that you've got to get all fancy with this stuff. It's really more about having the right form, having that simplicity of the squeeze page, not giving them any other options, and of course coupling this entire thing with having a compelling lead magnet to begin with that they're actually going to want. But you can make extremely simple lead magnet squeeze pages, and they're usually going to convert pretty well. It doesn't need to look anything like your site, okay? So that is basically how squeeze pages work, and a little bit about how to actually create these things. In a future episode here coming up, we'll talk about some of the tools that you can use to actually create these squeeze pages for yourself. I want to end off by telling you a little bit about the newest action plan over inside the Blog Monetization Lab, and that's at blogmonetizationlab.com, where we've created an action plan on how to create a blog profit funnel. Here's the thing. If you want to make money with your site, the way to do it is not by putting banner ads all over the place or not by littering up your blog with affiliate links. The way to do it is by creating real profit funnels behind the scenes of the blog. And we're talking about putting offers in place behind it. Now, these could be your own offers, and that is the preferable way to do it, or you can actually do this with affiliate offers as well. But there's a lot in terms of how do you structure this funnel, how to make email work in conjunction with it, and things like that. And we go into the mechanics of how to set that up in a very plain English fashion in the action plan that's called Creating a Blog Profit Funnel. And it's only available for members of the Blog Monetization Lab. So to learn more about the lab, go over to blogmonetizationlab.com, and I'd love to see you on the inside. Okay, thanks so much for listening, and I'll see you in a few days with the next episode of Coffee Break Blogging.